Roll call of the members. Councillor Rigo.
Here.
Here. Councillor Giannino is absent. Councillor Guanasso.
Here.
Here. Councillor Haas.
Here.
Here. Councillor Morbido.
Here.
Here. Councillor Novoselsky.
Here.
Here. Councillor Patch.
Here.
Here. Councillor Reardon.
Here.
Here. Councillor Zambudo.
Here.
Here. And Council President Powers.
Here.
Here. Quorum is present. Approval of the journal of the meeting held on February 23rd, 2015.
Motion to approve. So moved.
Calendar item number 1, resolution of condolence for City Councilor Richard A. Penta, will be presented by the Revere City Council.
This is a resolution of condolence, whereas former City Councilor Richard A. Penta has rendered conspicuous, faithful, and honorable public service to the citizens of the City of Revere in his duties as a City Councilor, and whereas Almighty God, in His infinite wisdom, has called City Councilor Richard A. Penta to his eternal rest, and whereas the sad calling from our midst of City Councilor Richard A. Penta leaves a vacancy in the official family of the City of Revere that will be difficult to fill, and a memory that will be long cherished. Now therefore, be it resolved that the members of the Revere City Council extend to the family of City Councilor Richard Penta, on behalf of the citizens of Revere, our heartfelt sympathy and sincere regrets on this profound loss. And be it further resolved that in recognition of former City Councilor Penta's service to citizens of the City of Revere, that the City Council pays sincere tribute to his memory by spreading upon the official records of the Revere City Council a copy of this resolution of condolence. Ordered by the City Council on a roll call, Councilors Arrigo, Canasso, Giannino, Haas, Morabito, Novoselsky, Patch, Reardon, Zambudo, and City Council President Powers voting in the affirmative. Approved by City Councilor President John Powers, in witness thereof, this resolution of condolence is given at the Revere City Hall this 9th day of March in the year of our Lord, 2015, of the independence of the United States of America, 227th, signed by Ashley Melnick, City Clerk. I just have a comment to make, and I know the Mayor does also. For 15 years, I had the pleasure of serving with Councilor Penta. Sometimes we would share a light moment together, and that infectious smile would appear on his face. To me, Richard was not only a colleague, but also a friend. We could disagree on an issue, and after the meeting, go for dinner or a cup of coffee. If Richard gave you his word on an issue, it didn't change coming up those stairs outside. He kept it when he voted as a city councilor. I think on most days, you would find Richard having coffee at Toretta's Bakery, listening to the concerns of his constituents and chatting with friends. Councilor Penta left an indelible mark on Ward 1 and the City of Revere, always advocating for street, sidewalk improvements, parks, playgrounds, and other improvements, always making sure that Ward 1 got its fair share. Whoever becomes the next Ward 1 City Councilor will have big shoes to fill. Thank you. Everyone stand in a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Are there any other city councilors? Councilor Guanasso.
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, we're in loss for a good friend, a colleague, and I offer my love and support and sympathy for his wonderful family, his wife, his sons, his daughter, his mother, and his brother and his family. It's certainly a big loss for the community, but it's a major loss for the Penta family. Richard Penta was not only a good ward councilor, a good public servant, but he was a better family man. I can recall and hear some of the great words that he was offering out about his children and how proud he was to indicate their achievements and what they do in life and certain things that they're participating in. The basis of a good person is how he conducts himself with his family. And I think family people give a great foundation for any offer of life that you proceed to do. Certainly in the public life, where you have to take adversaries and put them in perspective, and you also take the good things that happen to you in public life. But certainly Richard will be remembered for the wonderful things he has done for his ward and his family. And certainly on a personal note, I will miss the $10 every Monday night that I got from him when he selected the football team who was going to win. I think in one season he was 0 for 11. So it's a financial loss for me, but it certainly was the great camaraderie that we shared and the fun that we shared in taking part in that kind of activity. He will be long remembered and long thought of, and certainly Ward 1 is in loss for a great public servant. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councillor Ganasso. Councillor Zamboto?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm almost, it's almost never that I'm speechless up here. I obviously didn't prepare any remarks for my dear friend Richard Penta. Richard and I had a bond that not a lot of people knew about because I didn't socialize with Richard. I didn't partake in his family events, but I loved this man. He cared about this city. He cared about his ward. He was a wonderful family man, and I think President Powers said it. If Richard gave you his word, it was his bond, and him and I had that in common, that we would die before we would break our word. He loved Beachmont. He loved the city of Revere. He bled the city of Revere from high school till his passing. The city lost a wonderful public servant. I know his family lost a wonderful father. He loved his family tremendously. I'm going to miss him dearly, and all we can do now is pray for him. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Zamboto. Councillor Patch.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've known Richard socially going back to the 70s. He's been a good friend, and I've had the good fortune of getting to know him real well recently. And like my fellow colleagues said, he loved his family dearly, deeply, and he loved Beachmont, and he loved his city. I got real close with him the last few years on this council. We like to kid about having each other's back, and I think we did. I got to know him real good because, as you know, he had trouble with his eyes. I got to drive him around and socialize with him a lot, and I'm going to miss this. I'm going to miss his friendship. And my colleagues are right. When he gave his word, he meant it. And me and my colleagues up here are going to miss him deeply. On that, I'll just say God bless. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Patch. Councillor Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I echo the sentiments of my brother councillors Zamboto, Guanasso, and Patch. I grieve Richie's loss more as a friend, first as a friend, and second as his fellow city councilor. We didn't always agree on matters political, as is the case with all well-meaning, conscientious, and compassionate public servants, and Richie was all of that. He served up here with my brother as well as myself. I go back in friendship to him when he was serving with my brother up here. We spent many social hours together right through that time, and including the present. Beachmont has lost a favorite son. All of Ward 1, for that matter, has lost his favorite son. I lived in Ward 1, owned a home in Ward 1 when Richie was the councilor there, and I know that he served all his constituents, regardless of where they were in the ward, as well as he possibly could, and that was exemplary as far as the ward councilors who serve in the city. And people will always look up to the way Richie served his constituents whenever they think of good representation in this city. He's an example. He was an example. He was an example to me, and I will miss him terribly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Reardon. Councillor Morabito.
Thank you, Mr. President. Although I've been on the council less than 2 years, and he's been a colleague of mine for that time frame, I've known Richie Penta and his family for over 5 years, and I know the great family they are, and I want to first send my condolences to them. I can't even imagine what they're going through right now. You know, Richie was a stand-up guy. He was Revere to the core. I feel he lived, breathed Revere, and when he brought his issues to the city council, he never cared about what anyone thought, because he knew the end result was only in the best interest of his citizens. Just want to share a moment that I had with Richie. He told me that whatever you do as a city councilor, you got to compromise every now and then to get what you want. Things just don't work easily. That's the game of political football. But one thing you can never compromise is who you are, and you have to be true to yourself. And as long as you do that, you won't feel yourself, and you won't feel the people who supported you. And that's something that stuck in my mind. He was just always there to listen, and at the end of the day, when we're here, it's like we all are passionate. We're all on the city council because we believe in something and we're passionate. And the viewers watch and they see us go head to head sometimes, and tempers flare. But at the end of the day, we're all passionate about the city and the people of Revere, and he's really going to be missed. He's a gentleman, and was passionate about what he did. He was always willing to help the people of Ward 2, and he's going to be missed as a colleague.
Thank you, Councillor Morabito. Any other councillors? Councillor Haas?
Thank you, Mr. President. To Richie's wife, Cynthia, their family, boys, girls, the mother, you know, it's a great loss that we have. My political career spans many years with Richie. As the mayor of the city, he was a councilor. As a councilor, I'm a councilor. We had many battles out there, but one thing they can say, Richard always stood up, as the previous speakers have indicated. He always maintained his commitment. His commitment was his bond, and I think we all know that. And again, I guess one of his major accomplishments was the Rogan Federal Protection Program, which him and I worked on hand in hand. I think that was a major accomplishment down there. We don't hear about it too much because we don't have the extensive flooding that we had in the past. So Richard will be remembered. He was a stand-up guy. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Councillor Arrigo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I don't have any prepared remarks, but I've known the Penta family since high school. I golfed with his son, Richard, and actually worked at Wonderland with Stephen. And I got to know how important he was to them and how important they were to him as I became city councilor. And as it was alluded to, he was very proud of his kids, and it's really a big loss for Ward 1 and Beachmont especially. And I think his passing does put a lot of what happens up here in perspective. Richie and I, like any of us, have not always been on the same page on issues, but I always had respect for Richard because he did, you knew where he was coming from, and he did keep his word. And even if there was a disagreement about an issue, you could always leave the chamber and know that you'd get a smile from Richie, and he would always ask about my dad and check in on him. So he's going to be missed, and my heart goes out to the family. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Arrigo. Mr. Mayor, I know, did you want to comment?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I've heard a lot of you up here talk about friendship, and that is how I will always remember Richard. We sat together, Mr. President, you and I, and Councilor Zambuto, and Councilor Guanasso, and others, Councilor Haas, and a lot of you up here. Councilor Patch was here for many years, and we talked about issues, and we did the very best we could to represent the people of Revere. But I think all of us recognize that while we're up here on Monday nights or at subcommittee meetings talking about issues that impact the city, like any other work environment, you become friends. And it's those types of things. I don't think I'll remember Richard Penta for any 1 or 2 votes he took. I'll remember him for being the great guy that he was, the affable guy that he was, the family man that he was, how proud he was of his children, the relationship he had with Cindy and his family, his brothers. Just a quality guy, and a guy that really had handle on the issues. Richie was nobody's fool. I mean, he knew what he was talking about when he came up here, and he did his homework. Councilor Haas talked about that revetment project down at Rogan's Point. I mean, how many of those homes have been saved down there because of the hard work that, as the ward councilor, he did down there and pursued those federal funds so that you can drive down Broad Sound Ave now during a high tide, high wind event, and you won't see any flooding down there. He did his work, but as much as he did his work, he could enjoy himself too. He had a lot of fun with his family, going up to Damariscotta, Maine, and spending time at the family cottage up there. He would, which I mean, I'm almost envious of the relationship he had with his children. He hung around with them; they were friends. It's going to leave a big hole in Beachmont. It's going to leave a big hole in Ward 1. It's going to leave a big hole in the City Council. It's going to leave a big hole for all of us. So I know members of my administration, it's still almost borderline surreal when I walked into the council chambers and saw the floral arrangement in his picture there. It just continues to hit you that you're not going to be having those conversations anymore with him. But he served this city like nobody that I've ever seen. He was a dedicated public servant. He was a dedicated friend, a dedicated father, husband, brother, uncle. I know I just share with all of you in the loss. I know you're feeling up here as city councilors. Believe me, we feel it throughout City Hall and throughout the rest of the city. So I share in all of our grief, and once again offer my condolences to the family. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That was very well said. I'm sure it's the sentiments of all of us here. Thank you. Madam Clerk. Yes, please.
Councillor Gino cannot be here tonight, but she had emailed me a comment that she wanted to share regarding Councillor Penta. A person that departs from this earth never truly leaves, for they are still alive in our hearts and minds. Through us they live on. It was an honor to have served with Councillor Penta on this City Council, and I'm truly saddened by the loss of my colleague. I offer my deepest condolences to his family, friends, and all of Ward 1, which he loved so much during this difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.